How I started over from scratch after betrayal. I lost everything. But today I live happily, independently, and fulfilled. I clearly remember the day everything changed for me. It was a Tuesday afternoon, sitting on the living room floor with an open cardboard box and half my things scattered across the carpet. You know that kind of silence that weighs on your chest? I looked at the wedding photos, that silly smile on my face, and I felt ridiculous. But it wasn't just about the betrayal. I discovered that Lucas had been cheating on me for years, hiding debts and using my name in things I didn't even know about. When I looked at the bank account and saw the negative balance, all I could do was laugh. A laugh that hurts, you know? Because it didn't make sense. I'd always worked, always helped out around the house. And yet there I was, at 30, screwed, alone, feeling like the most idiotic woman in the world. I won't lie. I thought about giving up that day. I thought about calling him, begging for help, asking what I'd done wrong. But then I saw a message he'd sent to his lover calling her my safe haven. That gave me a shock. I thought, what about me then? Am I just the leaky old buoy he used while waiting for the right boat? At that moment, I stopped crying. I got up, ripped up all the photos, closed the box, and decided no one would make me feel that small again. I still didn't know how, but one thing was certain. I would get out of that hole without asking anyone. For a favor. Not him, not the family that disappeared when everything fell apart. For the next few days, I was on autopilot. I finished packing everything and rented a tiny room in the back from a lady I'd found through a neighborhood group. No furniture, nothing fancy, just a mattress on the floor, an old laptop, and my cell phone. Even so, I felt a strange relief. It was as if for the first time in years I had control of my own life, even if I was starting from scratch. I didn't have much, but I had myself, and that was more than I'd had in a long time. I went days without being able to eat properly. I lost weight, but I also started sleeping better, because at least I no longer had to fake happiness. The moment finally clicked when I received a message from an old friend offering me a freelance job. It was something simple, helping with social media for a small shop. At first, I considered turning it down because I felt unconfident, but I accepted. Each day, I did a little more. Studied YouTube, read articles, stayed up all night watching videos of people who'd started from nothing. A lot of the motivational stuff seemed like bullshit, but I held on to it because it was all I had. When I got my first paycheck, small, but mine, I cried. I really cried, but this time it wasn't anger, it was pride. After that first freelance gig, I became addicted to chasing jobs. I offered my services in every group, created an Instagram profile just for work, struck up conversations with shop owners, cake sellers, manicurists. I offered my help to anyone who needed it. There were days when I thought it was crazy, that I should just find a real job, clock in, and forget about trying to make it on my own. But then I remembered what it was like to depend on others. Lucas treating me like a burden. The humiliations I endured trying to save that marriage. And that gave me more strength. I didn't always get clients. I went through hardships, but I never again accepted hearing, "It's not for you." One day, I took on a seemingly trivial job, creating a logo for a woman who made fitness meals. I knew nothing about design, but I spent nights training on a free app, delivered the logo, and she loved it. She recommended me to someone else, then another, and before I knew it, I was becoming a role model. I, who had been called useless at home, who had heard from my own ex that I didn't have the entrepreneurial profile, started earning more than I imagined. And the best part, I could work from my own little corner, without relying on anyone, just my own effort. It was exhausting, but for the first time, I felt that I had some value, that I could be my own boss. I vividly remember the day I managed to save my first 1,000 reais without having to answer to anyone. It was Friday, and I had finished a large art package for a new store downtown. I went to the market to buy some junk to celebrate, simple things, snacks, chocolate, and I sat in the car looking at that, receipt on my phone, trembling, because it wasn't just about the money. It was about proving to myself that I wasn't that broken woman, that I could rebuild myself from nothing. I returned to my little room feeling that, for the first time in a long time, I respected myself. I might be broke, without furniture, but I had something no amount of money could buy: restored dignity. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. I had relapses. I cried alone in the bathroom because a client disappeared without paying. or because I saw photos of Lucas and his new girlfriend enjoying a trip while I was killing myself working. Sometimes, anger consumed everything, but I began to realize the difference was that now I felt the pain without standing still. I had a reason to get out of bed every day. I had focus. Little by little, sadness gave way to pride, because I looked around and no matter how simple my life was, everything there was achieved with my own hands. I began to like the woman I saw in the eyed mirror. The turning point came when a client recommended me for a larger project, something I never imagined I'd take on. It was a company looking for someone to handle social media, marketing, and visual identity creation. I was terrified. I almost said no, but I took a deep breath and accepted, even though I was terrified. I spent all night studying, making mistakes, redoing. One night, I cried over my laptop. Nothing seemed good enough. I felt like a fraud, but I delivered. And the feedback was incredible. They praised me, paid me promptly, and even recommended me to other companies. For the first time, I felt like I was building something real, a reputation, a name in the market. With the money from this project, I rented a decent apartment, still small, but my own. I bought a real bed, a desk, and a decent chair to work in. I remember the first night there. It felt like a 5-star hotel, even if it was basic. I cried, hugging my pillow, remembering the days sleeping on the old mattress, listening to Lucas's audio messages belittling me, telling me I'd never make it on my own. And that night, I knew I'd already won, even if I hadn't achieved everything, because I'd freed myself from that voice telling me I wasn't enough. Over time, word of mouth worked, and I started closing more deals. I set up a CNPJ, Brazilian Corporate Taxpayer Registry, something I never imagined. I, who always thought I needed someone, found myself creating proposals, contracts, issuing invoices, talking to major clients. I remember a client asking if I owned a company or worked alone, and I said, "Yes, I do." And I said it with such pride that I was moved. Until recently, I was the woman left with nothing, driven out. And now I was in charge of my own story. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone, but I was proving to myself that I was capable. Of course, not everything was perfect. I had a lot of stress, sleepless nights, difficult clients, work I redid 1,000 times. But I started to create my own routine, with my own time, my own way. I invested in online courses, bought a better laptop, and kept improving myself. I even started turning down low-paying jobs, something I never imagined. I, who would accept any scrap, who was afraid to say no. Today, I choose who I work with. And the craziest thing? I started helping other women in similar situations. Not as a coach, but by sharing tips from what I learned the hard way. My suffering wasn't in vain. I became an example that it's possible to start over. One of the most symbolic moments was buying my first car with company money. It wasn't new, simple, or used, but it was mine, without relying on anyone. I remember parking it in front of my apartment and staring at it, remembering the times I'd had to ask Lucas for a ride, who'd say, "It's better to save money," but he liked seeing me tied down. Now I had freedom. I could come and go, chart my own path without having to answer to anyone. Few people understand how liberating this is. Over the months, not only did my finances improve, but my head felt lighter. I started therapy, something I'd always put off. I faced my insecurities head-on and understood why I'd been holding back in relationships. It was hard to admit, but I let a lot of things slide, accepting scraps thinking they were love. And I won't romanticize it. To this day, I feel angry. I remember everything. I want to scream. But I learned not to let it consume my life. Today, I transform pain into energy to grow. Each victory is a silent response to what I once believed I couldn't do. The most shocking turnaround was when I hit my first 6-figure revenue of the year. I had to look at it several times, redo the math. It seemed unreal. I, who started out with nothing, ashamed to admit I was living in the backyard, was now earning more than many entrepreneurs I admired. It wasn't just money, it was what it represented. Every penny was proof of my effort. Sleepless nights, tears over my laptop, rejections I accepted, doors closed. I didn't get anything handed to me. I fought for every opportunity. It wasn't easy, but it was the best thing I did for myself. After that, a lot changed. I started traveling alone, something that had previously scared me. I took my first international trip, a simple one, but I felt like the freest woman. I, judged for not leaving Lucas's side, for accepting infidelity, for being submissive, now got to know countries and cultures with my own money, paying for each ticket with my work. Then I understood the true meaning of freedom, being able to make decisions without fear, to build my life my way, without having to prove anything to anyone. This was what I always sought and never achieved when I was trapped in a marriage full of lies. One day, years after disappearing, Lucas messaged me. He'd seen my company on social media, my results, and came up with that "I always knew you were special" line, wanting to chat, arrange, coffee. I didn't respond. I just looked at the message and thought about how many times I'd humiliated myself trying to save that relationship while he cheated, lied, and made a fool of me. For the first time, I felt no desire to respond. It wasn't revenge, it was indifference. He no longer had power over me, no control, no importance. And that feeling was worth more than any money I'd ever earned. It was living proof of my resilience. Today, looking back, I feel a lump in my throat remembering everything I've been through, but also immense satisfaction in seeing how far I've come. There are still difficult days, insecurities, mistakes, but I'm no longer that dull, self-depleted woman who accepted scraps thinking they were the best she could get. I rediscovered myself, reinvented myself, and even after everything, I managed to get back on my feet. I thought the end of my marriage would be the end of my life, but I was completely wrong. It was just the beginning of the best phase of my life. Every contract signed, every achievement reached, is like saying to my past self, "You survived, you won." There are people who look at my life now and think it was luck, that things just worked out. No one sees the behind the scenes. No one knows the times I cried quietly so the neighbor wouldn't hear. The weeks I ate ramen noodles waiting for my paycheck to arrive. No one sees the weight of starting over from scratch without support, without family nearby, without anyone to hold your hand when everything falls apart. That's why I say it without shame. I deserved every victory. I built it all alone, without shortcuts, without help, without relying on any man. And there's no better feeling than knowing that each achievement is the result of my courage, of my persistence when all seemed lost. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that no one will come and save you. No one will see your potential if you don't believe in it first. I spent years thinking I needed saving, that I was weak, that I needed a relationship to validate me. It was at the lowest point in my life that I discovered who I truly am. Strong, determined, capable of rebuilding everything from nothing. I'm no exception. Any woman who prioritizes herself can do it. It won't be easy. People will judge, try to belittle you, but the freedom of being the master of your own life makes up for everything. Today I say this with pride because I experienced it firsthand and transformed my story. And you know the craziest thing? I, who was terrified of being alone, learned to love my own company. Before, I avoided silence, needing someone nearby. Today, I value my moments of peace. I love going out alone, drinking coffee, doing my own thing without consulting anyone. I rediscovered tastes, hobbies, and pleasures I'd never experienced before. This was as important as professional success. Money is incredible, but nothing beats the feeling of being at peace with yourself, without needing to please or conform to anyone. When I look at old photos, I see Angelica faded, insecure, trapped in a marriage that only drained my energy. I want to hug that version and say, "Hold on tight, you'll get through this." Today, I know firsthand that rock bottom is just part of the journey, not the final destination. I'm not just a survivor of the worst phase. I'm living proof that it's possible to rise from the ashes. Today, I'm the woman I always wanted to be. And more, I'm the woman he said I could never become. And you know what? That's the best revenge possible. Living happily, freely, and successfully. If there's one thing I always make a point of remembering, it's that my story isn't a fairy tale. It wasn't linear, pretty, or quick. There was a lot of loneliness, shame, sleepless nights, fear of failure. There were months of insecurity, of feeling like everything would fall apart at any moment. But I resisted, even on the worst days. I chose not to give up, even when everything told me to. Give up, and that's why I value every achievement. I know what I went through to get here. Every time I look in the mirror, I see a woman who was kicked to the ground and got back up on her own. And that's priceless. For anyone reading this who feels like they're at rock bottom, no one will understand your pain like you do. No one will root for you more than you. And that's okay. Don't expect support from those who brought you down. Don't expect understanding from those who have never experienced what you've been through. Do it for yourself, even when you're scared, tired, and unsure of the next step. Later, when you win, when you look back and see everything you've overcome, the feeling will be indescribable. You'll feel such intense pride that no judgment, criticism, or bad memories will erase it. And that's what I achieved. The freedom to be the master of my own life. Today, I'm no longer the woman who cowers when someone belittles me. I'm no longer the one who bows her head to maintain peace in relationships that only existed on the surface. I've become the strongest, most authentic version of myself. It took time, it hurt, but it was worth every second. I understood that my life didn't need to follow any script, that it didn't need to please family, husband, or society. My commitment is to myself, to the woman I've rebuilt.